Happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas, whatever your thing is. Chip and Griffith back here, and it's I don't know what in the world we would talk about today. It's been an interesting times. Griff and I have been running around like crazy, trying to get in the old holiday preparation stuff. And Georgia has resumed football practice. And on top of all that, last night the news breaks that something we've been hearing about for weeks and weeks and weeks, really, but fever pitch ever since the SEC championship game that Justin Fields would be transferring. He has, as some guy named Mike Griffith reported this morning on Dog Nation, Justin has officially informed the University of Georgia of his desire to seek a transfer. Now, I guess technically, Mike, that doesn't mean that he has to transfer, but he is putting himself out there to transfer.
Contacting the NCAA, looking at the portal. It takes 48 hours. So letting Georgia know that, yes, he is exploring his options. And let's be honest, Chip, I think sadly enough, the way the media works, the way social media works, the way this news is spread, I almost feel like it's past the point of no return. I mean, if you weren't going to do it, then it shouldn't have been leaked out, but it was leaked out. The family obviously talked to people about it. So yeah, I would say that it looks like a pretty certain thing. And there've been clues, I think, as far back as August. When his father talked to ESPN in the middle of August, I mean, that is not something a parent should do when your son is competing for a position. Is say it's a roll of the dice if Kirby Smart puts your quarterback out there in a similar situation to Tua and Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. It was almost as if in August they were already questioning whether or not their son would get a fair chance. And I'll be honest, Chip, I almost feel like Kirby Smart and Georgia bent over too much, and I wonder if all that playing to Justin Fields and practicing two quarterbacks, I wonder if they had just focused on the best guy, if they would have played LSU a little bit better in hindsight.
Well, I have to give you credit on that. You were talking about that early in the season that perhaps some of those reps that Justin Fields were gobbling up was affecting Jake Fromm's play. He didn't play great early on, and he got better. Kind of when I think things were established that he is in fact going to be our guy, and sort of a lot of the experimentation was over. Jake Fromm's play seemed to go decidedly upward at that point. I don't think there was any time that it was more evident that Georgia was really sort of kind of forcing the issue with Justin Fields in the SEC championship game. I guess 3 different times on first down, they insert Justin Fields into the game, and Jake Fromm was just on fire, absolutely on fire.
And we said, why is it
going on? Wait, what? What's going on? And in each case, he had 3 carries for 6 yards, 1 incompletion, and then the infamous fake punt. Where look, hey, I am on record that that's one of the worst calls in the history of Georgia football, in my opinion, for a guy who followed Georgia football for pretty much all his life. Okay? Forgetting all that, Justin Fields is in the game as a quarterback with multiple options at his disposal. He can call timeout. Hey, coach, they're not lining up like
he wasn't there.
Like we practiced it. 2, you can see he starts to the right, and he's got Jake Kamara on a possible option play, which looked like it would have worked. I don't know if that was a legitimate option or if that was just a fluke. Or 3, yes, his primary receiver wasn't open, DeAndre Swift. The 3, Jason Stanley was streaking across the middle of the field, so he could have ad-libbed there. Instead, he takes a 2-yard run, and it was kind of what we saw a lot of times with him. This is not a criticism of Justin Fields. Those of you out there, I've seen you saying that. I think this guy can eventually be great. I see it too. I mean, he is 6'3". He is 230, 235. He does have close to tailback speed. He does have an elite arm. But you got to have all the other stuff too. You got to master the offense. You got to be able to get in and out of plays, and you got to be able to think on your feet and all that stuff. And for whatever reason, he hadn't gotten there. Now, was that mismanagement on Georgia's part? I don't think so. I mean, I think Georgia bent over backwards to try to give this guy a shot to compete for the job, and then B, short of that, a place and a role in the game. Do you agree with me on that part of it?
I do, and even beyond that, to the point where I thought it was counterproductive to Jake Fromm. I thought it hurt Jake Fromm.
Which was our original point here.
Yeah,
I just went on a rant.
No,
that was our point. Yeah.
Look, don't name Jake Fromm starting quarterback. They never. I don't know if you realize this, but they
Yeah.
never named. It was.
I don't realize it until you pointed out.
It was hilarious. I remember Jake Fromm, and I don't know if it was accidental. I don't think so, but I think Jake, in his own sneaky way, let us know he was going to be the starter for Austin P. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah.
When he slipped out, and he goes, "Yeah, I can hardly wait to have DeAndre next to me when I take the first snap on Saturday."
Yeah.
Nobody had announced who the starting quarterback was going to be to that point, but that was Jake Fromm's way of letting us know, I think, that he was the starter without saying, "I know I'm the starter."
Yeah.
People go, "Oh, he accidentally did that." And I said, "Nah, I don't think it was an accident."
That seems like ancient history.
It was, and but truthfully, there wasn't a depth chart. Remember that?
Yeah.
Kirby made it a point not to do any depth chart. He didn't allow Jake Fromm to talk the first 3 weeks of fall camp, which is absolutely ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah.
But if Justin
most of the year too,
But if Justin Fields couldn't talk, then Jake wasn't going to talk.
Yeah.
Because it was going to be a fair competition, and it was all the way throughout the whole season, Chip.
Yeah.
He kept the door open. He kept giving them reps. He kept letting him run the entire offense, even though it was clear to me that Fields had trouble getting through all the progressions. And why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, Jake Fromm wasn't.
Well,
the
again,
same
that
guy.
sort of underscores how good Jake Fromm was even last year.
Well, no, but to be fair, Jake Fromm wasn't the same guy until that he is now. Until really after the Auburn game, they played it very conservative early on. He didn't look nearly as polished the first 6 or 7 games as he did outscoring Baker Mayfield.
Well, and there definitely was. Even this season, there was pre-LSU, and then there was post-LSU Fromm.
New receivers to work with. I still contend.
Right.
It
took a minute.
He missed Javon Wims. He missed his go-to receiver. Him and Ridley, I didn't think was quick. It really wasn't until some of the other receivers stepped forward. J.J. Holloman's emergence, I thought, was really key for Jake. As those two really got on the same page, we saw Isaac Nada emerge even more as the season progressed. But really, as much as it was Jake Fromm, we'll just go off on yet another little tangent here. To me, it was DeAndre Swift getting healthy after the break as much as anything. That seemed to open up everything.
Yeah, George Dawson. And here's the bottom line. So there's a couple of things that I think this whole conversation leads me to. Number one, I think, and a lot of people have said this on here, and we're going to have to get to some comments. It's absolutely blowing up in here. Hey, we're going to turn our attention to what you want to know here pretty quick, because we realize there's a lot of people that want to discuss this, and we're kind of put our opinions out there pretty plainly to this point. But I think one of the underplayed stories this year overall is how Jake Fromm responded to the competition and got better to the point that at the end of the year, there's only 2 quarterbacks in the country with a higher pass efficiency rating than Jake Fromm. Both those guys were Heisman finalists. One of them won it. Georgia's offense increased after losing Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, Isaiah Wynn, and Javon Wims to the NFL, and they actually got better the next year under a sophomore quarterback. And the other part of this is I absolutely believe that Kirby Smart and his staff. Now listen, Kirby doesn't lose often in recruiting, and he was not going to be beaten on Justin Fields, and he was not beaten on Justin Fields. And I don't know what promises are made. I'm not even saying that any promises were made. But I guarantee you, Kirby says this because he says about everybody. He says the competition at quarterback will be real, and if you're the better quarterback, you'll win. And Justin Fields signed with the University of Georgia because of his self-belief that he could win that competition. At the end of the day, guys, there is no politics here. Griffith and I have talked about this later. On this level of college football, there are no politics. You're not trying to keep anybody happy. You're playing the best guy. And the best guy was Jake Fromm. Now, Justin Fields, I think, maybe I'm old school in this way. I think he should hang around. I think he would play next year. If he's going to get better, he may eventually run down Jake because of physical gifts that he has that Jake is never going to be able to reproduce. But even if he doesn't, there's the option of playing 4 games in redshirting. There's an option of Ron turning pro early. There's the DJ Shockley model with David Green that he just waited out. The winningest quarterback at that time in NCAA history waited for his 1 year and won the SEC championship with Georgia. DJ Shockley has never for 1 minute regretted that decision, and he's beloved by the University of Georgia now. The other way Fields is going, hey, it's recruiting all over again. Florida State will take him right this minute, I'm sure. I don't think Georgia is going to be interesting whether Georgia would release him to some SEC schools. But anyway, I'm rambling. It's just there's so many layers to this story. But the bottom line is I don't think this is a devastating thing to Georgia. It could affect some recruiting a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think Georgia's offense is still going to be Georgia's offense in this bowl game coming up and next year.
Yeah, I agree, Chip. You look at the whole phenomena, the whole Justin Fields and what he was supposed to do and how it was supposed to unfold. When he was given his opportunities, other than the Tennessee game. Now, the Tennessee game, that still remains the only game of Jake Fromm's career that he didn't throw a touchdown pass. Georgia didn't have a play longer than 23 yards. I thought Jeremy Pruitt did a really nice job. As he should. I mean, he had Kevin Shearer on his staff, and they pretty much
knew what Georgia did. Right?
They knew the personnel better than anyone.
Yeah.
And it worked well. And it wasn't until Fields came in the second quarter and provided a spark that led to that scoring drive. Remember, in the first 4 games, I think there was 1 offensive touchdown. All those other games, the defense was scoring early.
Yeah.
Whether special teams or fumble recovery for touchdown, I think was their first score.
Right.
In the first 4 games, it was remarkable as the Georgia offense took time. As Jake Fromm, I don't want to say struggled, but was not nearly as efficient on third down. I think he started year 3 for 20 on 3rd and 9 or longer. After the LSU game, he was 5 out of his next 6.
Third is you made 3rd and Fromm a whole different.
Third and Fromm.
It went from 3rd and Fromm first half of the season to 3rd and Fromm the second half of the season, which was unbelievable. The level of improvement on that.
They really went all out, and I thought that Jake played really well, and Justin Fields, I don't know why he wasn't used in a package a little bit earlier. They seemed reluctant to do that, Chip. If you'll remember, Kirby Smart said early on that we're going to run the same. There isn't a Justin offense and there isn't a Jake offense. We're going to let. He wanted to give this kid every opportunity to run every play. I think that's what was promised. And it's too bad because, Tebow talked a lot about how he was willing to play a role and do whatever he could to help the team. Nowadays, with social media, and Kirby talked about this in Destin, he was asked about the phenomena of quarterbacks transferring.
Yeah.
And he said, it is a me now generation.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. He said, what I try to tell the parents is, does it really matter, and I'm paraphrasing here, but does it really matter if your son gets it the first? He can't go pro after 1 year anyway.
Right.
Wouldn't you rather have him in a place where he can be developed with a good quarterbacks coach, with a good offense around him? The answer is no. The Fields family wants Justin to have that immediate gratification and play somewhere right away.
Yeah.
But, Chip, if that was the case, and I'm going to have a story with Kirk Herbstreit later, then why did he sign with Georgia to begin with? He said all the right
Great
things.
Conversation with Herbstreit this morning.
He said all the right things. I'm willing to go to Georgia. I'm willing to compete. If I need to back up, bull. You thought you were going to win it. You didn't. You got beat out. You couldn't beat out Fromm. You're frustrated. You're afraid you're not going to beat him out in the fall. And quite frankly, they're ready to take the ball and go home.
Yeah.
And that's just and look, there's a lot of guys that would do that. I'm not saying that I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, nowadays, the transfer, it used to be like, oh, he transferred. There must be. No, this is the way it is. It's a free society.
That's right.
If it doesn't work for you in one place, you go somewhere else.
And let's be honest here. That's one of the biggest developments in this whole thing is
the new rule.
The NCAA is way more liberal.
Granting waivers.
Yeah.
All
you got to do is come up with one little hook.
Now, this is the danger. Now, this is the danger for Georgia, to me, long term, is not losing Justin Fields.
Yeah.
The danger to me is the perception that may come out of this situation, Chip, and I'll let you advance the conversation because you originally reported on the story involving Adam Sasser and what we think they're going to try to use as leverage to get that waiver immediately.
Yeah, let's face it. The original story on this came out of USA Today, and embedded in the bottom of that story was
embedded is a good word.
Yeah, embedded because look, guys, these stories are kind of planted, okay, and that was not a fluke when it came out and where it came out, how it came out. And in there, they referred to the Adam Sasser situation in which the Georgia pitcher, I reported on this originally at Dog Nation, was overheard by a bunch of students using racial epithets, and the kind of irony on this, the racial epithets were racial epithets. On the kids' side of things, they were actually not discouraging, but encouraging.
Using them in the game.
Yeah, it's like we're using the wrong terminology because it wasn't going well. It was at the same Tennessee game you were referring to. But anyway, that appears to be the hook. There is language in the NCAA transfer rules citing Title IX, where racial discrimination can be alleged based on a lot of things, and that can include being made to feel uncomfortable, unwanted, or harmed in any way by things that are happening at the school. So it sounds to me like that's the route that they're going to get. And look, I don't for a minute think he won't win an appeal to that extent. So I mean, I think it's just a one and done deal. So there's that, and I'm sure there's a lot of comments on there. We're going to turn to that right now. The other side is how does this affect Georgia in the media? I don't see Fields staying and playing with the team in the Sugar Bowl now.
What would be the point of it?
Yeah, he's sort of
he'd be using Georgia again to showcase himself for the next.
He sort of pulled a grenade, and Georgia's not going to play. I wouldn't think would play him at that point. Heck,
unless they thought there was a chance they could keep him.
Unless you're still trying to keep him, and maybe they are, but because nothing's official. Look, nothing is official until Georgia announces that he has left. Now, Georgia, when they hadn't announced anything to this point, I don't know what they would say right now.
Kirby would, my thought is, and Kirby is scheduled to go before the media to talk recruiting tomorrow. I just can't believe Kirby would have his head in the sand to the point where he'd say, I'm not talking about anything, don't ask me. My thinking is Kirby will make a statement on this and say, I know you guys are going to ask me, we're here to talk about recruiting, but let's just get this out of the way. Yes, we have been informed by Justin Fields that he's exploring transfer. As far as we're concerned, he's still a part of the team. He's still practicing. Our plan is for him to be at the Sugar Bowl until otherwise. We got 104 other guys on this team. They got to make some decisions. There may be somebody else.
Write this down. I think he's probably getting this about right.
Writing this right. We got 104 other kids. They got to look at their options. He might not be the only one, right?
Yeah.
But obviously you guys have reported. Kirby. I know how you guys are. You guys have. Listen, we're not the ones who reported it. This was leaked to the USA Today with an agenda, as you pointed out, Chip. This wasn't the local Georgia media sabotaging the program. This is somebody using some leverage here, leveraging this story to put the Fields in the best potential light and situation, unfortunately. But it's going to come down to Kirby basically saying, I think now in the next 24 hours, is it possible? Because if you're Georgia,
well, I don't count Kirby out on anything when it comes to recruiting.
I was going to say
all that kind of thing.
If Georgia,
he can talk him into state.
Or what if they get a phone call from a 5-star quarterback that says, "Hey, are you still interested?"
Yeah.
Then does Kirby go?
Yeah. Remember when you passed us off because you didn't like the situation?
Let's cut. We got to cut ties now if we want to sign player B.
Yeah.
Now that would be quite a reach because these relationships with quarterbacks. They take a while to develop. But I know last year, Adrian Martinez, a candidate for Freshman of the Year, was a Tennessee commitment. And once Butch Jones left, he hung, and Jeremy Pruitt tried to couldn't recruit him, and he bailed and went to Nebraska.
Right.
And also that last weekend, Pruitt and Tennessee, cut their ties with Michael Penix. The weekend before signing day, this kid thinks he's got a Tennessee scholarship. It's gone.
Yeah.
In swoops Indiana, South Florida, and Florida State trying to get him. So there's still a little time for some Kirby magic here. I think it would be a reach, but I don't discount anything. If they would have to cut ties and tell the kid privately, Justin's leaving, because somebody could walk into a pretty good situation in Georgia next.
You know what would be ideal, and I don't even know if that's probably way out there, is like the biggest, highest rated dual threat quarterback that's similar to Justin Fields in the way he was in getting a true freshman like that to come in with a year's space, another year's space between him and Fromm, and start over again. Because I agree with everybody else, and I like a lot of the potential that Justin Fields can bring to the offense. I mean, let's face it, Georgia's offense is a zone read based offense.
Pro style offense.
Yeah, and that's what they're all doing in the NFL right now. And in the NFL, 98% of the time they give the ball away. In Georgia's offense with Jake Fromm running it, probably 88% of the time, 90, he gives it away. With Justin Fields, that becomes a 50-50 play. And when you got a guy who can do that and throw it, you know, the sky's the limit. I mean, I see it. I absolutely know it. You got to have patience to get there. And again, I think Jake Fromm deserves credit for just responding to the moment and coming through like it.
It's curious to me, Chip, because if you're Justin Fields, you know, you're a year or an injury away from inheriting a national championship team. You go somewhere else, I don't know what you're going to get. His dad talked about a roll of the dice back in August.
Well,
you go somewhere else, let's see what that offensive line's like. Yeah. Let's see what that coach is like, because now you're on your second chance, and guess what? It's probably your last. Your last. So you're not going to get, you know, the way Kirby. Oh, he's such a great guy. Oh, he's such a great player. He's such a great this. Such a great that. The next coach, you're coming there, and I don't see that happen. So Justin Fields' decision, he's given up a lot, Chip. Mm-hmm. He's given up a lot, you know. For now, I think he's incredibly talented. I do think he would have started at 95% of the other schools in the country, but there's 3 or 4 guys that he wouldn't have beat out this year. Jake Fromm was one of them.
Apologies if the audio and the video is not perfect. You're meeting at a different place today. That's just how it is sometimes. I hope you can hear us. We're going to start taking your comments. Good question here for Dustin Dampier, who says, is there any graduate transfers we might look at? And now that's where Kirby's really good. He pulls in a graduate transfer every year.
Right.
So if there is, there probably is a chance that they would do that. Let's see some more. Jacob Eason transferred for the same reason, but he didn't go anywhere near his level. He didn't go out with near the level of vitriol. Okay, that's talking about the response to Justin Fields. Give me your questions. Ask the questions. We can continue the debate on here as much as you want. Stafford sat half a season, and that's true. Not really half a season. He actually came out. Matt Stafford came out. Won the job, lost the job, won the job back. I mean, you know, these things are fluid situations, and that's what I'm saying. Just because Jake Fromm was the guy all year this year didn't mean he'd be the guy all year last year. So, Robert Darrell Sykes Jr. says Justin said his daddy leaked the story for him to transfer. I mean, I'm not sure if he actually said that or not, but I mean, I think that's pretty clear. That's what happened. Will Scott says, wouldn't it be funny if he transferred in, if Hurts transferred in? Oh, that would be, how about that? I guess Jalen Hurts does that. Jalen Hurts wouldn't come here. Jalen Hurts was going to go somewhere where he can play right away. Tom Gross wanted to know, is Luke Ford gone for sure? You know, he's not gone for sure. Obviously, Kirby on the record said that the tight end from Illinois is coming back after Christmas. I've been told behind the scenes, don't write that and Luke Ford permanent heat. Yeah, just yet. I mean, we'll see. Now, Luke Ford, that's not an insignificant transfer. He played in almost, I think, every game or 10 games.
And if Isaac Nautic were to go pro,
which apparently there's a lot of buzz out there that he might. I could see him doing that. You know,
not because he's going to be a first or second round pick, but because he's going to get any bigger faster in the next year.
Yeah, no. I mean,
you're a fourth round pick now. You're a fourth round pick. I don't know what the 10 class looks like. I mean, that's why the people have agents they can consult, but that's definitely a potential thing that could happen.
Yeah, it's Riley Ridley's another guy. You know, there's a lot of buzz about he possibly could go. You know, look, these guys they're not talking to us about. I've asked, you know, every eligible guy who's come up in interviews, are you considering or whatever, but they go through the evaluation process. Kirby and them helping the NFL has an evaluation process. It's very regimented now. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the last story I wrote about it, but January 15th or the middle of January, I don't know if it falls exactly on the 15th this year, is when the declaration deadline is.
January 14th.
So it's 14th this year. So it's always mid-January, so they have plenty of time to do it. Kirby was talking about this week, and I thought he made a good point. Another problem with the early signing period, which Georgia has done great on. I mean, the first year they had it, they finished #1 in the nation in recruiting, is just it falls when there's so many unknowns like this. Apparently he didn't know. I don't know whether he did, but it didn't appear that Kirby Smart knew on Monday that this whole Fields thing was about to blow up. Maybe he did, but as you pointed out, it was the first time all year we didn't ask about Justin Fields.
Isn't that ironic?
In the press conference.
Every week it seems we asked about Justin Fields and what's the plan. And this particular time we didn't ask, and that night, the internet blows up. Maybe, and you know what? Maybe that's telling. Maybe we didn't ask Chip because our read is the same as Justin Fields' read. There's no shred of controversy left. It is Jake Fromm's team, and he proved that. And Justin Fields conversely proved that he wasn't ready.
Here's another point now that I was actually talking to Griff on the phone earlier about this when he's driving back from the airport. So obviously the concern now, you have one scholarship quarterback. I mean, at least going into the Sugar Bowl, and we'll see. I don't see any reason why they would allow Justin to play. But so assuming that he's your only scholarship winner, Georgia has 3 walk-on quarterbacks. They have Matthew Downing and the 2 other guys that I'm sure can run a play script to some degree. But I contend that Georgia is in pretty good shape anyway because that offensive line, Georgia's offensive line it's great. It's going to get better. It's going to be good next year. And the kind of the way Georgia runs the offense with Fromm, I mean, the difference in him and Fields, he doesn't put himself at harm nearly as much. Now he's going to get sacked every once in a while, but Georgia's going to be in the top 1 or 2 in the SEC next year at least on sacks allowed, I'm sure. And their run offense is so formidable. I just don't think that's a big issue of Jake Fromm being at risk of hurting himself. Now that can always happen, and he can go out or whatever else. That's your concern, but I do think Georgia has a pretty good situation to avoid that. Josh Johansson wants to know how many recruits do y'all think will waiver if we do lose Fields? That's the thing. It's hard to tell.
I don't think any.
Maybe Hazelwood. And I don't know what you're going to end up with him. Him and Fields are tight.
Yeah, that was a dicey situation. But no, I don't think it's going to affect this recruiting class. And frankly, unless Fromm gets hurt, I don't really think it necessarily affects next season.
Yeah.
I mean, it damages the whole talk of a dynasty. I mean, before you had this idea that that this great quarterback's going to be waiting to do like you said, the DJ Shockley thing. Jake will go pro after his junior year. He'll have 2 years to win 2 more championships. And that's not going to happen now, apparently. I mean, I just
that was plausible. I mean, I don't. The thing you can't know at all is I've seen his evaluations all over the board on draft, and now obviously he's not draft eligible, so there's not real data out there. But these mock drafts, they talk about upcoming people, and his pro potential is still questioned at this point. But I mean, he'll get an NFL shot. I don't know whether he would be a junior early eligible guy.
Be a first round or a 4th round.
What's up, Jay Rogers? Good to see you here.
Talking about next year a little bit, and I want to bring this little item up on the agenda. When we look at next year, the schedule, and everybody said, schedule, they beat all these teams.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Chip? I'll bet you don't remember this story I did. 5 teams that play Georgia next year have an open date before they play Georgia. 5.
Is that right?
5. And Georgia has 1 week where that happens. And it's the week they play Florida, and Florida also has an open date.
Yeah.
So Georgia,
they don't have an open date advantage on any opponent.
No, and 4 opponents have an open date advantage. I don't know how, was it the SEC League offense?
That makes a difference.
This could be Notre Dame hurting them 2 years in a row. Talking with Herb Street this morning, one of his points on the whole playoff thing this year, and I know we've discussed that ad nauseum, but Notre Dame getting in made it where another Power 5 conference team didn't get in, and that's what put the pressure on the committee to squeeze out the SEC second team. So Notre Dame could hurt you 2 years in a row. Because where you schedule Notre Dame has something to do with where these other SEC teams are.
I hate the whole Notre Dame equation. I mean, I understand what Notre Dame is, what Notre Dame has always been.
I know what they were.
What they were. They're not that anymore. And I think college football. I'm on record, and I think you are too. I'm not sure where you stand on the 8 games. I just think it's just. I don't know how they can't go to an 8-game playoff. It makes way too much sense to me. That's probably the reason the NCAA wouldn't do it. Well, the NCAA didn't have anything to do it, but that's probably why they wouldn't do it, is because it makes way too much sense. But I think they could force Notre Dame's hand and say, you got to join a conference. You got to have conference.
Or you got to be willing to play when you're eligible. You got to be willing to play the the best of the subdivision, not the subdivision, but the group of 5 schools.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way. But I'm with you, Chip. And
I mean, join a conference. I mean, they do it in other sports.
Well, they don't because of the television. They still have their own NBC television contract, and they get to keep all the money. You join a conference, you got to split all that TV money up.
Right.
But to your point, the net effect of this is that Notre Dame gets a bye.
Yeah.
We are pretty.
Everybody else playing conference championship.
Well, I mean, if you look at what happened to Georgia, Georgia's the number 4 team going into the SEC championship game, right?
Right.
If they're Notre Dame and they don't play in a conference championship game,
they're in.
They're in.
Yeah.
So I'm to the point where I say, if I'm Georgia, I'm going to you know what, Sankey? I'm passing.
Yeah.
Let somebody else go play in that game. I'm going to sit right here at number 4 because Georgia goes there, plays Alabama off their feet, outplays Alabama, and somehow gets demoted for that. Now, I don't know about you, Chip, but personally, I thought Georgia played better than I thought they would against Alabama. That front 7 that was questionable against the run all year, they reared up. Jake Fromm
in all of this.
Jake Fromm played. The difference in that, in one final little agenda thing that bothers me, and I know the story, and it's a wonderful story. Jalen Hurts, and he stuck around, and his feelings were hurt, but he waited, he got his chance, and he won. Well, listen, I don't want to rain on that parade, but if you follow Georgia and you watch the Bulldogs this season, the reason that Georgia lost that game is that DeAndre Walker went out of the game at the start of the 4th quarter. He had been owning the defensive line. He had been destroying the man across.
His contain was unbelievable.
Sacks, 2 quarterback hurries, forced fumble, pass deflection. He went out. Brenton Cox came in and lost contain on 2 very big plays. One where Jalen rolled to his right and threw downfield for a score. The other one where Jalen rolled and scored. If that's DeAndre Walker,
he got held on that play, but I don't know why he was.
If that's Walker, Chip, if that's Walker, those plays don't happen. Jalen Hurts doesn't have time to throw. That's the way I look at it from a Georgia perspective is, hey, your guy Hurts did a good job. But the best defensive player for Georgia in the front 7 in that game, DeAndre Walker, was out of the game when all that happened.
Michael Johnson wants to know, can Georgia beat Texas with all this distraction? This is one of those things, guys. Yes, absolutely. And it really, this is nothing against Texas. I contend different than other people. A lot of the national pundits are out there saying that Georgia better look out, an upset warning because Texas is fired up to be in Sugar Bowl and Georgia's not. And talking to the players and just kind of gauging the attitude like we do all the time. And I think Georgia is going into this game anyway with kind of a chip on their shoulder about the whole left out of the playoff stuff. And so I think that's their. And so they got to play a 9-4 Texas team. I mean, knowing Kirby and Scott Sinclair and the way they motivate and all that kind of stuff,
and knowing
they're going to say step on the neck.
And knowing Jake Fromm.
Yeah.
I mean, Jake Fromm's leader. Here's the thing: when adversity strikes, adversity is a make or break thing. Whether we're talking about sports or your personal life, a lot of these people that are watching this, Chip, they probably had adversity in their lives that they can reflect on, whether it was when they were young, at their job, in their marriage, with their kids, whatever. Adversity is going to make you or break you. You can reflect back on that time and say, I remember when. And boy, did that knock me out of college. Or, you know what, that's when I decided I was going to become Chip Towers. Whatever, Georgia right now has adversity. People are talking about the program. People are going to question. They're going to question the environment here with this Sasser talk. That's what this is going to get turned into. Oh, yeah. Is that the way Georgia? It's not. Anybody here knows that.
I can already hear Stephen A. Smith.
But the point of the matter is the Georgia program is on trial right now. Justin Fields has decided to transfer. The Georgia future now is in jeopardy. What did Kirby Smart do wrong? Maybe Fields should have played over Jake Fromm and this wouldn't have happened. All this stuff's going to be swirling. Oh, by the way, Georgia, you weren't good enough for the playoff, and you only have one first-team All-SEC guy, and the coach at Kentucky is the coach of the year, even though he has 3 first-team guys. Look, Georgia has been rejected by college football. I don't know how much more sand can possibly be kicked in their face. And I got
been dumped on a little bit.
I think Georgia football is going to go down there to play in the Sugar Bowl and want to put an ass whipping on Texas because I think Georgia's about sick of getting pushed around.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's the attitude that we're sensing over at Georgia's camp right now. It's not the other, and they're insulated to some degree from all this stuff. But look, they were in the locker room because I was in the locker room with Justin Fields after the SEC game, and different people heard different things in the interviews. I ended up having some kind of one-on-one with Justin Fields because there was such a scrum around, and at the initial part, but I know I was standing there, and I know Nauta was right there, and other players were right around when Justin Fields talked about how much he loved this team and how much he wanted this team to win, and he wanted to be part of them winning, and he wanted to keep competing and becoming a better quarterback because Georgia was developing him greatly as a quarterback. I mean, heck, I didn't put those words in his mouth. Those are the words that he was saying.
I think he feels that way, and I see this. This isn't. It's the adults. It's the the dad was talking to ESPN in August. Yeah. You don't think there's pressure on the hey, what's your son going to do? What's he going to do? The parents, the handlers, they're the but there's a better situation somewhere. I don't think it was Justin Fields necessarily as much as the supporting cast.
Yeah.
The people around him. I don't want to call them handlers, but for lack of a better word, I mean what is it? The entourage, the people that surround him every day. You're better than just Justin. You deserve better than this. You can go somewhere, and if you're Justin Fields, you hear this every day, and you can't go out there and prove yourself.
Yeah.
On Saturday.
A lot of guys, a lot of people on here asking Justin to play in the bowl game, and I would imagine technically he can, even though he's seeking to transfer. But we have to hear this from Kirby. But Griffith and I were both of the opinion that you probably wouldn't do that because if he just made the declaration clear that he's not going to be with the team next year, then you're going to be putting somebody else in that game if Jake Fromm needs to come out for whatever reason, or if it's mop-up duty or anything else. Or maybe only in the event of mop-up duty might you consider Justin.
If there's a lesson to be learned from this for Kirby Smart in Georgia, it's that in games like Austin Peay, when they want to go with a running clock in the fourth quarter, you say no. In games like Middle Tennessee, where they're trying, you put your guy in and you keep your foot on the gas and you score as many points as you need to get that number 2 quarterback, and you can't worry about anybody's feelings. I thought Kirby Smart did the sportsmanlike thing, the gentlemanly thing, didn't run up the score, had Justin hand off, he used to take his snaps. In hindsight, maybe he should have turned him loose and scored 100 points like Alabama did, because now you got these college football committee people with people on there from Florida and Georgia Tech and Oklahoma, and they go, oh, look at this stat, look at this stat. Yeah, well, look at the circumstances. What if they would have left Jake Fromm in there for 4 quarters? Think he could have put up some Oklahoma numbers on offense?
Oh, yeah, or throw, Georgia never. Right?
Throw the ball.
I need to go back and break that down. How many attempts they had? I know it wasn't many.
No.
Georgia had most of the games in hand, and even when Justin came in, he didn't throw it. In fact, Georgia ran the football. The last time I counted it up, and it was late in the year, so SEC championship game certainly didn't go down, because I believe Georgia ran the football on 78% of the plays when he was in the game. Again, some people call that mismanagement on Georgia's part, but I'm telling you, Foley and Chaney are going to call based on what they've seen from Justin Fields.
Well, and you want to run the clock because you don't want to run more plays because that's how guys get injured. You got a 30-point lead, take the air out of the ball, get out of there with everybody healthy, and move on. But
I agree with that.
Now you got to worry more about points, stats, because people on the committee either don't want to recognize how good Georgia was or couldn't see that, which I just beyond me, Chip.
Yeah, Michael Johnson, you've asked several times, and I thought I addressed it, but yes, he could play in the bowl game as long as he's eligible and he's with the team. He can play in the bowl, but again, I just don't think that's a way it's going to go. We're inside the 1 minute on here, Michael. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here. If you got one more question, throw it in. But look, we got this covered, about 19 different ways. It's kind of funny. I'm technically on vacation this week, but stuff keeps happening.
That's a great vacation.
Yeah, trying to do a little shopping and sell a house and build a house. But hey, that's just me. That's no big deal. We know this stuff is important to you as Dog Nation. We're going to stay on top of it for you. It's not just me. It's not just Griff. Jeff Santel's got recruiting. We got national. We already talked about National Signing Day tomorrow, where Georgia's
tonight.
Got the number 2 day. The basketball team plays Oakland University tonight. There's a lot of stuff going on. We're going to have it all covered. But right now, Justin Fields is just dominating the universe, and we certainly understand that. So for Mike Griffith, the best reporter in the universe, and Chip Towers and everybody at Dog Nation, we thank y'all for hanging out with us today. If you didn't like the audio and video, we promise we'll get it better next time. Thanks again. We'll see you next week.